COVID may control my travel plans to flee the winter chill generously supplied by my home state, but COVID does not control what I do with my sewing machine. So today I will be making vacation outfits from leftover fabrics from previous projects. I'm just cleaning up my recycling project that I must put a pause on temporarily, but defs we'll get back to later. First, I am starting with the blue fabric I used for my Mulan outfit that I previously theorized as a couch cushion cover, since the shape is irregular and it came in a set of 3 at the thrift store. I'm going to be using it to make a flowy dress, so I will start by making a circle skirt. The basic concept as I understand it is you fold one piece of fabric into 4, cut 1/4 of your waist circumference in the corner, then cut the length of the skirt. I'm using a piece of paper for demonstration. If your paper is from the 80s like mine is, be sure to start by ripping the serrated edges off. I fold the paper so it's positioned into 4 layers. I cut the semicircle in the corner which corresponds to the center of the paper. Then I cut another semicircle to represent the bottom of the skirt. Ideally, the final product will look like a cleaner version of this donut. Since I'm using scrap fabric, I don't have enough to make the full circle in one swoop, so I will be using 2 long pieces, as demonstrated from my paper folding. If it sounds like I'm congested, you have at least one good ear because I am recording this while getting over a cold. I'm using chalk I had gotten for a bridal shower in 2018 to measure and mark both of the semicircles. Once the cuts are made, I pinned one of the sides together and sewed it into place. It takes significantly longer to do the same thing to the other side because my cat decided to intervene. It's nice that she cares about me not working too hard.
What's that saying? An outfit's not complete without some pet hair on it? Well, I'm getting started on that early.
Okay, back to work. Once I remove the cat, I pin and sew the other side into place.
Due to the limitation of my fabric, I think my skirt might come out a little short. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna take my iron and help me create a nice even hemline without sacrificing too much length on my skirt.
For once, I think Live Me explained it pretty well. So once I've pinned it into place, I sewed it and noticed my cat is no longer afraid of the machine. It's a new day and I decide to start with my second dress since it also involves a circle skirt. I have enough tan tablecloth to make the whole skirt donut without needing to sew the sides together, which is like super cool. Now the body of the skirt is finished and I decide the next thing to do is make the waistband. So I cut what I have left of the tablecloth, pet the cat, and pin it to my dress. I accidentally made my waistband too small, so I rolled with it and made a pleat in the front and the back. At this point, I could hear the sound of old bananas from the kitchen begging me to kill them, so I did as anyone would do and prepped my skirt to be hemmed and made my way downstairs. While the banana bread baked, I completed the hem of the skirt. Since my toes are going to be exposed on my pretend tropical vacation, I must apply paint. Next, I pull out the teal curtain, use chalk to trace around a loose flowy top, cut it out, pin it to the other piece of fabric, take the pins out because the fabric should be flipped over, and pin again. Cut it out and sew the 2 sides together. The sewing machine apparently decided to play hardball, and I don't remember what happened, but I eventually outsmarted it. The cat, however, plays in a better league than I, and did manage to thwart me from continuing temporarily. I wanted to jazz up the top by creating a notch at the neckline. Luckily, I drew it on first, otherwise it would have come out like how I drew it the first time, which was hella lopsided. Next, I pin and hem the color of the dress. For the next 40 minutes, I play around with the idea of using the tan fabric to line the notch at the neckline. I eventually abandoned this endeavor.
I don't know how long it's been now.
I can answer that question, Susan. It had been a long freaking time.
Easily 30 minutes of me trying to figure out how to make this work. But I have here my curtain. There's these things. I think I'm just gonna cut them off and attach them and call it a day.
So I cut off the part of the curtain that would attach to the rod normally and hot glue it to the top. And instead of hemming my sleeves like a big girl, I hot glued those too. I hot glued my top to my skirt and then showed you a quick sneak peek. I cut out a long piece of fabric, folded it in half, pinned and sewed both halves to the skirt, making a dress that was perfect for someone headless. However, I do have a head, so I required a neckline. Without the use of those pesky measurements, I drew where my sides will be and sewed them into place. The neckline ended up being too high, so I did have to make it lower. I decided at the beginning of this project that I wanted to make a dress with some very dramatic sleeves. And this, ladies and gentlemen, was the winner of said sleeves. So I traced, cut, and sewed them into place. Uh-oh, fancy dress alert! Looking snazzy! And for my next trick,
I know what you're thinking. Who is this smoking grandma? Well, it's me, and I'm gonna make a romper.
I start with the pants and cut the legs off. Then I trim the heavy-duty waistband. The pants have pockets that I'm very interested in utilizing, so I toy around with the idea of lifting the crotch, but honestly, that is way out of my league. So I cut the pockets off and set them aside for later use. So I trim off the top of my shorts, then I mark where the sides need to come in to turn this size 14 into a size 8. I hem the bottom of the shorts, making the back side slightly longer to account for the butt, a lesson I learned after making my first pair of shorts a long time ago. In case you haven't noticed, there are pockets in the top and the bottoms. This type of look might be growing on me, or at least give me something to look forward to in 60 years from now, assuming people didn't die because of global warming.
Anyways, let's continue. I want to talk about how much I messed up this outfit. So I measured out where I want each item to fall on me, and I ultimately decided I wanted each item to meet at my belly button. So once I measured and marked, I pinned the bottoms to the top, trimmed off the excess fabric, and sewed it into place. I wanted to add some flare to the back, and I measured out a triangle. Once I cut it out, I hemmed the edges into place. Anyways, turned out I forgot to account for seam allowance because the bottoms were hugging places I do not wish for my garments to hug. So I spent 30 minutes undoing the seam I just made. I figured the easiest way to solve this problem is to add a belt. So I cut out 2 strips from the pant leg since I can't get a piece long enough to go all the way around my waist. I accidentally used my pen to mark the outside of the top, so I had to make sure to cover that with my belt. So I lost some height. This is probably why I shouldn't mark things in pen. Anyways, I ran out of bobbin thread but forgot to wrap the thread correctly and ended up with this happening, so that's fun. I decided since the point of making your own clothes is to add things you wouldn't normally get, I seam ripped the bottoms to add some pockets. For some reason this happened, so I had to fix that. So I fixed that problem, and again sewed the top to the bottoms via my newly installed belt. Now that I'm done, let's take our fake, very real vacation. Use that wonderful imagination to pretend this grass is actually a sandy beach. As always with any beach trip, sunscreen must be applied, assuming you have a working bottle, of course.
You having fun?
I'm having trouble. There we go.
Oh, you're actually putting it on.
Yes.
Not staged at all.
No, it's real. Really 35 degrees Fahrenheit, but my dedication is real. Oh, yes. Thank you, sir. Even recruited my brother-in-law to provide a sense of authenticity. Are you buying it yet? No? Oh well, here's my romper. Alrighty, moving on to outfit number 2. Give us a twirl so we can see that circle skirt in action. This next dress by far is my favorite. Check out that wingspan.
Whoa, that was very pushy.
Now show us a twirl for good measure. I am one with the birds. Insert vacation date with the husband. Darling, thank you for taking me on such a lovely vacation. Cheers.
Cheers.
I'm totally nailing this. What should I say next?
I've heard this restaurant is very fantastic.
I sound so fancy and natural.
5 stars on Yelp.
Now talk money because you fancy.
Also $3 sign, so we about to spend a lot of money.
5 stars and there's no food.
Okay, bye now.